Old Man Liver. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Where does the name Old Man Liver come from?
All right, so this is a funny story because a lot of people think that Old Man Liver comes from my whiskey that's called Old Man Liver American Whiskey, but it was really a band before it was any other products. So, and what happened was I was living in Los Angeles, and I'm a musician, and I was in a band for many years, and we had a record deal, and we would tour and all that kind of stuff. But when I turned 30 in Hollywood, you're considered old, right? There's a whole ageism thing with music. So people are like, oh, you're still gonna do this pop rock thing in your 30s? And I'm like, I'm not dead, what are you talking about? So as kind of sticking the finger to the music industry, I started a side project from my normal band, Early Dawn, and I called it Old Man Liver, so I had old in the name, and said, so nobody can criticize that when you call yourself old. So at the age of 32, I'm calling the band Old Man Liver, thinking, hey, if I survive till my 80s and 90s, I'm gonna keep playing music till I'm dead. Like, and B.B. King and Les Paul and some of these other guitar players played club gigs into their, old age. Not that I put myself on that level of talent, but just in the attitude of wanting to keep playing. So I called my band Old Man Liver. We did prominent shows in LA, like at the Viper Room and the Troubadour and Roxy and Whiskey. People loved it. It was kind of half comedy, half, just songs that, some were covers, some were funny songs we made up, some we improv on the spot, and people loved it. And then people just, since I was like the leader of the band, they just started calling me Old Man Liver, thinking that was my name. So I got used to it. So then, later, when I moved to Las Vegas, I was like talking to my old lady, and she had worked for Caesars Entertainment for 27 years. She's like, you need to bring that project. Old Man Liver would be great in Vegas and do shows and blah, blah, blah. COVID hits, and it's like, okay, now we can't do any live entertainment. But she knew I was a whiskey drinker, and she's like, Old Man Liver needs a whiskey because you love whiskey. And I was like, well, I'll only do it if I get to do the exact flavor I want. And I want it to be 90 proof so I can say you get more bang for your buck than Jim or Jack that's 80 proof. And sure enough, we found a distillery in North Carolina that wanted to work with us on it. We spent a year on it, and the whiskey came out, and that led to Old Man Liver beer, Old Man Liver hot sauce, Old Man Liver spice mix, books, beef jerky, you name it. So now it's a whole brand, but it all started in LA with a band.
What did you play in the band? What were you
I'm
a singer?
a guitar player.
Guitar player?
Yeah. Not necessarily a good one, but that didn't stop me from, still to this day, I play quite a bit.
And what kind of music was it?
There was like rock, which is funny because back in the day when there was these things called record stores, I would go in and just for, kicks, look to see where my album was in the record store. And it was the coolest thing that, it was Early Dawn. So I remember the first time I saw my record next to the Eagles, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. But sometimes I go in and they had us in an alternative pop category, and I'm like, isn't that contradictory, alternative pop? But whatever, so it's like rock, whatever, it's pop rock, whatever, and kind of grungy back in the 90s, and then a little more No Doubt-ish later. And I still play to this day, and my band will still come up and do gigs a couple times a year here in Vegas.
What do you play? A Les Paul, Strat?
Yeah, so you know your guitar. So my first wife and only wife is basically a 78 Gibson Les Paul Custom Black Beauty. Beautiful pickups, great sound, great full body tune. So that's my baby.
And what's your amp?
I do a Marshall JCM 900 half stack type. To get that crunch.
That's a great amp.
Yeah, thanks.
That's
So are you a guitar player as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have a couple Marshalls and a Les Paul.
Yeah, that's fun. And we started, I brought a lot of my equipment now to the Pioneer Saloon so that anybody can just get up and play whenever, we get a feel for it. So like you might have noticed outside, we keep our drum kit up, and we've got guitars laying around. If someone just wants to get up and start jamming, you can. So I want to promote, a lot of that spontaneous, creative vibe. So
Right on. So did you grow up in California?
No, actually, I grew up in Louisiana. So, and then I moved when I was 19 years old to Los Angeles to do music and business, which is exactly what I did. And then it wasn't until years later that I discovered what a great place Vegas, and then eventually Good Springs was to live. So now I kind of jump around quite a bit.
So what drew you to the Pioneer Saloon? Did you know about Good Springs before, or how did you become aware of this whole?
Yeah, so I had stumbled on Pioneer Saloon just driving around and looking at real estate, and I was like, oh, that's where my neighbors say they go every once in a while, and they take people that are coming from out of town and that kind of stuff. And I was like, I should go in and check it out and just see what, and this was, like 10 years ago. And I fell in love with it like everybody else does, because there's just something magical about this property. And I didn't know until I acquired the saloon that I loved the town so much. So then I met everybody in town. I love the vibe up here. It's 3,700 foot elevation, so it's cooler than Las Vegas. You can grow stuff out here you can't grow in the valley. So we've got, like, my house down the street, we've got avocado trees, pomegranate trees, grapevines, apple trees, all this stuff that you can grow out here, which is cool. And it's just pretty, and it's a great vibe. So I first fell in love with the saloon, then I fell in love with Good Springs, and magically it all happened. And I still to this day don't know how. I feel like the Pioneer Saloon picked me, even though I'm not a big fate guy or anything. It was weird because when I threw my name in the hat, I was like, oh, it'll never happen. Like, it's too high profile of a bar. There's all these big corporations that are trying to get it. There's people pooling investment money. Friends that I found out later that none of us knew we were all going for, because we all signed NDAs. They're like, oh man, you got it. We were trying to get it. And I'm like, I don't know how you didn't get, but like all the other offers started falling through for one reason or another. And it got to me, and I'm like, I'm going to make this thing happen. And they say there was a poker game involved. I never verify that or not, but I will only say there was a shot that we took with the previous owners that locked in the deal. But it was not a conventional transaction. I see why a lot of people couldn't navigate it. And it's a weird 112-year-old fixer-upper, right? So you've got areas that are gray areas. You got some things you're grandfathered in, other things you're not. You would, in modern time, if this was built, you would never have a school so close to it. So it's a unique property that just kind of, if you get it, you get it. Like to some people, it's a biker bar because one of the previous owners was a big biker guy. To some people, it's an off-road destination. Others, it's a historical landmark and a place for history. Others, it's a haunted house. We have that whole vibe. And then for Fallout New Vegas fans, it's a gaming destination. Other people, it's business thing. Other things, it's wedding. It's a lot of things to a lot of people. And I would normally never say, market to all the niches. I'd like pick a niche and market to that. But in this case, it's people's cheers to so many people over the last 112 years. You have to honor that and what their experience was in the past. And our attitude is just like, hey, that's good. We value, people's experience, and we want them to keep experiencing it. We don't ever want to take stuff away. We want to add stuff. And so really we just look at it like we're caretakers of this, not owner. I'm not an owner, I'm a caretaker. And this needs to be alive for the next 100 years, and I have to make sure that happens.
So you kind of touched on the next question I was going to ask you about the poker game, because that's a big thing on the internet.
Yeah, that's one thing my publicists and attorneys tell me to not talk too much about.
I get it.
Yeah.
What did your friends and your family think when you bought a bar in the middle of a ghost town.
Oh yeah, well, they all thought I was nuts, which is probably accurate. But the cool thing is it's semi-famous, so people know, a lot of different people know about it, so they understand why. And plus, my friends that have known me all my life know that my favorite things are food, drinking, and live music. So that's what all this is. So, so it's perfect for me because I can just get up and play guitar whenever I want. It's got a retail aspect to it with the Good Springs General Store. It's like several businesses in one, which is right up my alley.
Is it true that George Fay founded the saloon?
George Fale. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So he was a county commissioner and business guy back in the early 1900s, and he saw the town of Good Springs exploding because back then we were a mining town, and as the mining trade expanded, he's like, I want to take advantage of that. So he built the Pioneer Saloon, he built the Good Springs General Store, and a couple of years later, he built the Hotel Fale, which unfortunately has since burned down in the 1960s. But he was the original entrepreneur that made it happen.
Do you know how this place stayed open during Prohibition?
It's funny, no one really knows. But the kicker is, because supposedly they marketed soda as, come out and enjoy soda out here. I'm sure that had a different meaning. And the funny thing is, the guy that I bought my house from down the street, which is, I tell people, only 4 minutes stumbling distance away from here, he swears that there's a mine shaft on the property, which I'll tell you about because that's crazy in its own right. But he swears at one point the mine shaft connected with under the caverns we have underneath the saloon. And my guess is that's how they handled Prohibition, is all the caverns and tunnels that there's miles and miles of tunnels from mining in this town. And so like when I bought the property, I'm like, what's this big, hole in the ground? Like I moved some wood to the side. I'm like, oh my God, it's like a, straight out of a science fiction movie where there's like a missile silo going down in the ground. And I'm like, only in Good Springs would you buy a property that comes with a mine shaft. So my guess is that's how they hid their alcohol, is underneath the saloon.
So have you found like a lot of hidden, artifacts or like stuff like that around?
Yeah, it's kind of cool because once you have access to the whole property, you realize, like, we have a very famous story with a poker game and some bullet holes that are on the side of the wall. And there's 3 bullet holes that are next to a door over here that are very prominent and people talk about a lot. But in reality, there's bullet holes all over the place. And so a lot happened, a lot undocumented. There were more people also focus on the murder of this poker game in 1915, where a guy was shot and killed when he got caught cheating during his poker game, and the dealer called him out on it. They got into it. Ultimately, the dealer shot him, got off, because back in the day, he had a better reputation than the guy that was shot, and so he got acquitted. But so like when Ghost Adventures and those types of groups come out, they'll focus on that murder, but in reality, there's been several deaths on the property. So even one of the previous owners died in a house that was on the property. Somebody had a heart attack at the end of the bar, so they died. So if there's going to be anywhere that's haunted, it's going to be this place, because it's, the 112-year-old spot in the middle of the desert that's had a lot of deaths on the property. And then you do find, you find little things that have been donated over time, and you look into where it came from, and so many people, especially locals, have contributed artifacts and things that help bring the history alive. And so we have a whole little mini antique museum in our dining room where we put a lot of these things that people have donated. And eventually I want to have plaques that explains what each one and what year, who donated, all that kind of stuff. So it's neat. The more you look around, because almost every spot in here, there's a story behind it. So you can just look and, that person donated. Oh, they started that in the 80s. Oh, they did this. And so it's neat, and I've enjoyed getting to learn more than I ever could have just being a customer. So that's really fun.
So you've had Ghost Adventures and all those kind of shows come through here.
Yeah, we do a lot. We've had Ghost Adventures out. We do a lot of TV shows and film and music videos. Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top just did a music video not too long ago. We did a movie with Matt Rife and Jamie Kennedy. Matt Rife just wanted to hear ghost stories from me all night, which is funny. And we do, producers and directors like to film out here because there's no air traffic. So, and they have a built-in catering since we have a kitchen out here. So, so it's a logical place for people to want to do their shows.
So is that something you advertise, or does Hollywood and performers reach out to you?
They more find us, and we're in that category that's fortunate enough not to have to reach out to too many people. People find us for all sorts of projects, but in the long run, it's probably a good marketing thing to do that. But we get plenty of business without really trying that much.
Can you say some of the shows or music videos? I know it was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, right?
Suddenly, there was a terrible roar all around us, and the sky was full of what looked like huge bats, all swooping and screeching and diving around the car.
Yeah, and the cut, it's funny, Johnny Depp was here, and we have pictures of him at the bar and stuff, and they filmed here, but the scene that has the Pioneer Saloon didn't make the final cut of the movie. But we did make the final cut of like Cheech and Chong's Things Are Tough All Over, Miss Congeniality 2, Five Finger Death Punch did their Blue on Black video out here. Sometimes they film and it doesn't make it into the movie. Other times it's a pretty prominent, little promotional commercial for us.
Going back to the haunting stuff, is that something you believe in, or is that just something that you like to entertain the idea that it could happen?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, because as a kid, I was always fascinated by paranormal and haunted houses and stuff like that. In Louisiana, we had this plantation called the Myrtles Plantation that was built in 1796. And it's been through all types of history, from, the Civil War, where Confederate soldiers died there because they used it as a hospital. They had several of the owners were murdered over the years. There was a cemetery there that was caving in, like 300 confirmed deaths on this one property. And that fascinated me. So friends of mine and I would go stay for the night and scare the crap out of ourselves. And we'd always have really weird stuff happen. And so in fact, at one point I tried to acquire the Myrtles Plantation because I was so fascinated with it. But now I feel like I got my ghost in with the Pioneer Saloon, because I will tell people, even if you don't believe in ghosts, there is stuff that cannot be explained. And there's a tangible energy, especially on certain days and nights, that you can feel, and your hair stands up, and it's weird. So I'm kind of conflicted, because I have all these, I'm like, why would a ghost come back as an apparition from a certain time when they were younger, or what? So I've tried to figure that out in my head. But I will say, I've had enough experiences that I know something's going on, because I can't explain it, from noises to apparitions. I mean, every server that's been here for more than a year will have plenty of stories to tell you. There's some, like one night we had a bartender that we had to drive home because she was so freaked out during a karaoke experience, because she just kept seeing a dark figure following one of the customers around. And then I've had experiences here where, like, we even did a paranormal investigation with a local TV station.
Ghosts are something I just would love to see for myself. And this year, because of that, I wanted to do something a little special. So I got in touch with this guy called Adam, who does a special ghostly tour at a bar called the Pioneer Saloon that's owned by Stephen. The two agreed to let me do a lockdown tonight with my crew. I would love to prove, one way or another, if there really are ghosts out there.
And after everybody left, I heard this really loud thud, like somebody knocked over a table. I mean, it was pretty significant. And I was the only one here because I was left closing up. And I go, and you can see on the security camera, I go like looking around for it. Like, what made that noise? And I can't figure it out. And I'm kind of just stuck between the dining room and saloon, just like looking around. And then when I went back on the security tape the next day, you can see this, not even an orb, it was like a something with a tail that flies up and then flies over my head and then off in a different direction. And it was like it wasn't, and I know what a bug looks like on security, I know what a piece of dust looks like. This is an actual, something I can't explain, and I put it on YouTube, and I even put it in slow motion so people could try to debunk it. But to this day, I still can't figure out what that was or what the sound was. So stuff like that happens all the time, and it's not scary. It's more, if anything, it's mischievous. So some people say they think it's, some of the paranormal investigators channel kids here. They're like, though, there's kids that have, and there's a story about one of the kids dying in one of the wells back in the day, and that, I don't know if that's true or not, but enough stuff happens where I feel like, you know, there's, whether it's ghosts or a wrinkle in time or an energy you can't explain, it's a tangible experience for sure.
I'll put the link to that story.
Oh, cool.
That video in the
yeah, that'd be awesome, because it's a neat,
and then people can, you know, hear what you're talking
yeah,
about.
we even had one lady was taking a picture of her son, and the saloon itself is the only area that's 21 and over. Otherwise, it's all ages in the dining room and the store and outside and stuff. But so her son couldn't go in the saloon, so he was standing between the dining room and the saloon, kind of where I was just saying that story happened. And she takes a picture of him, and then she went and looked on the picture, and in the background there's an apparition of like, looks like a kid wearing like 1800s garb. And the people I've showed it to are like, I know Photoshop, and that's not Photoshop. And I'm like, wow, that's freaky. So it's an interesting place to work, I'll tell you that.
Have you ever had a seance here or anything like that?
Oh yeah, we do seances, we do regular paranormal investigations. Even with our own internal team, we'll do private guided investigations, and then of course other TV shows will come out and groups will do their own. So I participate in ones that I'm available for.
So is that something the Pioneer Saloon sells? Is like a seance package, or?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the Pioneer Saloon has a paranormal investigation that you can sign up for called Spirits with Spirits. So we serve a drink before you get started, and then we wait till it's closed, and then we turn out the lights and we give you a guided tour, which is usually a couple hours. So people can sign up that through our website at pioneersaloonnv.com.
haunted history, Pioneer Saloon. It opened in Good Springs more than 100 years ago in 1913.
Fox IC's Landerson explains what is materializing in the manor.
This would be the place to come to for Halloween because it's legitimately haunted. So if you're looking for a haunted house, it's great, you know, radio station does a thing like that. But if you want to come to a real haunted house, come out here and talk to the employees and ask them to tell you stories. Stuff moving around on them. We have a phone over there that's like an old-timey phone where you hold the piece up to your ear. And some people were talking about the ghosts the other night, and the phone just started ringing. Well, the phone works, but it wasn't plugged in. So my question is, did you answer it? And they're like, of course not.
So do you know much about Good Springs in general? Like, how did it become a town? Was it a mining town, or did people settle here before? Was there water, or?
Yeah, so the town of Good Springs actually was first settled by Native Americans, of course. Like the Paiutes were a nation that settled this area. And at the time, the benefit was the springs. So Good Springs does come from the water table is so high, you would have pools of water just around town. Now that's dried up to a certain extent, but even the well levels up here are not that far. You don't have to go that far down to get water. So you see how someone initially was attracted to settling in the area. But then when all the different minerals were discovered out here, the mining industry is what blew up the town. So it was everything from gold and silver to lead and zinc to you name it, up to 17 different minerals. And so at its height, Good Springs had 800 people in the early 1900s. What's ironic is that was about the size of Las Vegas at the time. Now the whole Las Vegas Valley is like 3 million, and Good Springs is now 200. So we've gone this way and Vegas went that way. So unfortunately, the only mining that's done now is a type of red rock that people use for countertops and such. So, but you can still go out and find slivers of gold and silver on the ground. We have people that show up, walk in the desert with metal detectors and things, and they'll come in with all kinds of neat stuff and minerals. And so it's a fascinating, beautiful place, but it was the mining that really brought out the industry here, and that brought bars and cafes and brothels back in the day. And in fact, at one point, we competed with 6 other bars in town and 3 other cafes, and then we had 3 brothels. Now for a brothel, you got to go to the next county over, Nye County. And we're the only remaining building that hasn't burned down and or the weather's taken away. Now, if you walk the front street, here, the main street, Spring Street in Good Springs, if you look to the left, you can see a lot of the foundations of these buildings that used to be there. And then a couple of them are still barely hanging on, like we have a stone building from the 1890s that's still up. And it's fascinating because back in the day, you would come here to do your luxury shopping, not Vegas, because we had the nicer clothing stores and confectionery stores, and we had a modern hotel with indoor plumbing and electricity, which, you know, was a luxury. So Good Springs really was on par with Vegas for a while. And once the mining died out, you know, we had World War I kind of built up the town, and World War II revitalized it. But after the mining died down, really now people, it's not a total ghost town because we still have 200 amazing residents out here, me included in my opinion. And so it's not a complete ghost town, but we're the only prominent business that's outside of people's home businesses that's still running.
Is there a post office here, a fire department, and a sheriff?
Yes, so we have a volunteer fire department. The county has a deal with Las Vegas Metro to handle police activity out here. And then we have a small library that's basically it is a trailer. And then a small post office that's open 1 hour a day, and you can only pick stuff up. You can't mail stuff out. So it's a little limiting from that. We still have Good Springs Elementary School that was founded the same year the saloon was in 1913. And ironically, there's only 2 students that go there, but there's 2 teachers, and they're amazing teachers. So I'm like, I tell people, if you want to get your kid a great education, move them, they're K through 5, move to Good Springs, because you'll get free private tutoring, because they get the same funding as any other school in Las Vegas. And they have to stay open if they even have 1 child. So it's really fun. It's a quirky town, but everyone that lives here obviously loves that aspect to it. And people don't want it to be developed. And we like it being small and all of us knowing each other. But it is a different kind of vibe. I mean, we're only 30 minutes from Las Vegas, but you feel like you're in a different world completely.
Driving out here, it does feel like you're somewhere like Las Vegas is crazy. People honking their horns all the time. You take a right on that long road, and then it's like almost like a cleansing of the palate. And then you're in the middle of this interesting place that you can feel the history.
It is, and it's funny when you take the highway off the freeway. People don't realize that you're going up in elevation because it's so slow. That's why Vegas is about 2,000 feet elevation, where Good Springs is 3,700. So it gets cooler. You can feel the history. You can start seeing the old buildings. There's no developments. There's no cookie cutter housing developments. It takes you back in time. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, when you walk to your car, don't forget to look across the street, because you can still see some of the history in the old buildings. And I'm part of the Good Springs Historical Society, which we're dedicated to preserving the history of Good Springs, because it's so fascinating. But like you said, you feel like you're in a completely different world. There's no traffic. I mean, we have an acre of free parking. Like, where do you get that in Vegas? It's neat. So people come to us when they want to give their visiting friends and family a different experience than the strip and slot machines, and kind of show them real Nevada. So we fill that role, and I think we do it successfully.
The Pioneer Saloon is in Fallout Vegas. When did you realize that the saloon was a big part of that game?
That's a great point, because going into trying to acquire the saloon, I knew about the poker game where the guy got killed. I knew about the historical landmark status. I had heard stories about Clark Gable and Carol Lombard coming here. And so I knew the haunted vibe. A lot of it I understood, but it was never brought up to my attention. So when we took over, I started noticing people coming every day that were fans of the game. And I'm like, I feel like I'm a Star Wars geek personally, and I have been, so I've been since 7 years old. So I get the fanship, and I'm like, if I went to somewhere where Star Wars was filmed and they didn't even acknowledge it, I'd be kind of disappointed. And at the time, we just had like a Xbox game on the wall or something. And I'm like, let's let people, celebrate it. We'll dedicate a whole wall in the dining room to it. And people can donate items. We'll have a little mini museum. And then it built from there. And then I said, let's try for National Video Game Day, which happened to be in July. Let's see if Fallout fans want to come together and meet up here. So we thought we might have 50 to 100 people show up at best, and 1,000 people showed up right off the bat. And so we kind of had to wing the whole day. We were totally not expecting that many people, and we had a cosplay contest and bands and stuff set up, but it really wasn't designed to have 1,000 people. So but Fallout fans love the adventure and spontaneity factor. So since then, we've done an annual event, which we now call the Fallout Fan Celebration, every year to have the fans have a specific time of the year to come out and celebrate together. And it's really cool. The second year, we're like, oh, we might have 2,000 people, so we better, do it 2 days and spread it out and stay open 24 hours. And instead, we had 3,500 people show up. Then the third year, we had almost 6,500 show up. So this year, we could have as many as 10,000. So we did it 3 days this year. It's in November, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And we're spreading people out with different areas in town and other venues. We're going to be people have the ability to be bused to other venues that are in the game, that are in Southern Nevada. So we have people from all over the world come, and in some cases, this is their only time they've ever been to America. And it's like, hey, I want to hit every spot in Fallout New Vegas. So it's turned into its own beast. And luckily, I had a live events company called Butter Popcorn Entertainment that could tackle that. And so now we have a whole fantastic team. We call them the Fallout Commission or Committee of passionate Fallout fans that help organize the thing every year. So it's turned into its own beast. But it was interesting when I took over, I didn't know that facet of it. In fact, I had never played the video game. So I took it upon myself where I'm like, okay, for business purposes, I got to play video games at least 10 minutes a day to learn the game and know what I'm talking about. I was like the first gamer generation with the Atari 2600 and all that stuff. So I always loved video games growing up, and I just haven't had as much time in the last 10 to 15 years with businesses and music and stuff. But I was happy to have to add that to my regular routine business to play video games. So you got to do what you got to do for business purposes. I'm just saying.
Howdy. What can Easy Pete do for you?
Two things come to mind. Does it cost anything for that? And where do people stay? The lodging.
Thank you for asking that. So the last 3 years, the whole event was free. So the bind that got us into was that we didn't know how many people would show up. And so this year we did we tried to do a nominal amount of $30 as an early bird special, which for those that aren't familiar with the Vegas Strip, that's the price of a cocktail on the Strip, maybe a little bit more than a double or something if you order that at the Strip. So, and now the ticket price is $45. And what that does is, A, it allows us to know how many people are going to come, but then B, it covers the cost of busing people around, because we have a lot of people are staying in Buffalo Bills, which is only about 20 minutes from here. It's the closest hotel, and it's actually in the video game as Bison Steve's. So it fits the vibe, but we want people, if they're staying there, to not necessarily have to worry about driving over here. And then part of the event is at Sandy Valley Ranch, which is an additional 20 minutes from here. And so we wanted to have the $30 or $45 price at least pay for the busing, so we could bus people around to the major venues where the major activities. Then if they want to pay extra for side buses to other parts of town and other parts of Nevada, they can. But at least that covers our costs, because this celebration is it's costing us over $250,000 to produce. And if anybody knows restaurant margins, that would be an infinite amount of hamburgers to sell to break even. So our point is, we're not trying to get rich and make money. We just want to break even. And God forbid, if we start making some money, we can bring in more talent and higher levels of talent. Because now that Fallout is a hit Amazon show, I'd love to get some of the A-list or even B-list stars from the show out to the event. But all those are going to cost a lot of money. So if we do start making it, charging enough to stay under what other Comic-Cons are doing, I hear people paying hundreds of dollars for tickets for just a regular ticket to different conventions, and then they're overcharged while they're there. And I don't ever want to be that guy. We don't ever want it to be a corporate feeling event. It's got to be an Old Man Liver event. And so we go for the party first. But if we can improve the party with charging somewhat, then it's going to be worth it. So I think we've had a lot of people already sign up, and most people were very supportive online. They're like, oh, they should have been charging the whole time. I was wondering how they were covering the buses last year and paying for the bands and the talent. And then this year, we've already stepped our voiceover actor talent coming in from all over the country that were actual voices in the game. So already they're going to see activities, talent, events, games, stuff that we've never had in the past that this year we can afford to do.
From what I understand, that they're filming the second season in Vegas, and they're going to have the old Vegas or the Vegas game a part of the show.
Yeah, so they're heading to Vegas, and and I hope we're a part of that at some point. I think Amazon is looking at this as a multi-season, multi-year deal. So I get the vibe that they don't want all their Easter eggs to be in the first season or two. So, but I hope at some point we're in there somewhere.
I mean, it would be a win-win, in my opinion, if they brought some talent here from the show. Then they make it an event.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, you don't want it so corporate. You want it to keep it like you said, but still.
Yeah.
It would
the Fallout fans would love to have the Pioneer Saloon feature, even just the exterior for a scene or one shot or something somewhere in the series. So I'm hoping that happens. And last year when the first season came out, we would air it. We project it on the side of the saloon. And we'd have everyone show up with like bean bags and blankets and lawn chairs, and it was kind of had the vibe of a drive-in movie theater, but with Fallout fans dressed up and just sitting on their own stuff and watching the projection. And it was really fun. There were some Fallout fans that I was shocked that they waited to watch every episode at the saloon because we aired it every other month, and they didn't watch any of it at home. They waited to see every episode through at the saloon. So we'll probably do something like that for season 2 as well. And then we've started doing things throughout the year. If someone can't make it to the big Fallout event in November, they might stumble on one of our Fallout faction games, which occurs every other month. And we get different factions battling each other that are in the video game. We come out here and do it with cornhole and trivia and other things like that. And people have gotten a big kick out of that. So we're doing more things throughout the year, so that if you can't make it to the November thing, there's other Fallout activities and that you can get to. And people love it. They go, thanks for getting me out of my basement to interact with other people that I can relate to, because I don't normally like interacting with people, which I get 100%. So it's like, if we can be that safe spot for the fans to come every year or throughout the year, then that's a cool role to play. And I'm proud to be accepted as part of the Fallout community, because they brought me in, not the other way around, and I appreciate it immensely.
So the Pioneer Saloon's in the game. The store is in there. Is there other things in Good Springs that are in the game?
So the Pioneer Saloon is in the video game, even though it's called the Prospector Saloon. The Good Springs General Store is in the game, and it's actually called the Good Springs General Store. And there's even a Magic the Gathering deck that has a Good Springs General Store card in it. The Good Springs Cemetery is in the game. The Good Springs Elementary School is in the game. And generally, the game gets the general geographical layout of Good Springs down pretty well. I was shocked at how accurate it was. The only thing I'm having, people that come in town, they want to see all the different spots. And the only thing we tell people is if you visit the cemetery, don't go inside, stand outside, because it's a real cemetery that the town folks have family members in. And they do not want you going in there. And in the video game, you find a snow globe in there. So for a while, people were leaving snow globes, and we're like, please don't do that. Like, this is so, but the Fallout community is so respectful of that stuff. Once we tell them, like, hey, this is a real cemetery that residents go and visit, and they need serenity, and they don't want they don't want it trashed out and that kind of stuff. People are very respectful. The Fallout community fans are so amazing that they come early to help volunteer. They stay late to clean up. Like, this place is crazy during those 2 or 3 days. And then 2 days after the event, you would never know anyone was even here. That's how well they clean up, and they're mannerly and polite. And I tell some of the older folks in town, I'm like, you want to feel good about the next generation? Come, meet some Fallout fans. They're an amazing representation of their generation.
What is the vision that you have for the Pioneer Saloon? And you said you're on the preservation
Good Springs
board.
Historical Society.
What's your vision for Good Springs and the saloon in the near future?
Yeah, so the idea with the saloon and the Good Springs General Store is never change a thing. And if you change too much of it, we would lose our historical status anyway. So like the walls and the ceiling are just as they are if you had walked in 112 years ago. And that you never want to change. That's what everyone loves about the place. Now, the surrounding property, every owner in the past has helped improve the properties to make it a more comfortable experience. So the outdoor areas, there's a lot to work with. You can make it more comfortable. So we're in the process of building a new bathroom building. So if you want to come out and use our historic bathrooms from the 1930s, you can. ADA compliance wasn't a deal back then. So like we have a lot of disabled veterans and people that need accessibility that you can't fit a wheelchair in these old bathrooms. And so I want them to be comfortable too. So we're building more bathrooms. We're building a new kitchen because the saloon was never designed to be a restaurant. So, and a lot of people don't know this, but there's the reason we've never served French fries. We're the only burger joint in the world that doesn't have French fries, because we've never been approved by the health board to fry food out here. So the interesting thing is, as we've stepped up the quality of food in a lot of ways, from serving fresh beef to having my own Old Man Liver Red Menace seasoning mix and all the burgers, to like making our own sauces and everything being from scratch. The issue is, now we want to expand our offerings. And so we're building a whole new kitchen so we can actually fry food and offer French fries for the first time. So if anything, if I have no other legacy here, it's that Old Man Liver brought French fries to the Pioneer Saloon for the first time in 112 years because I love fries. And but on the good side is it's made us be very creative with our food stuff. So we're like, okay, we can't do traditional chicken wings right now, but we can smoke some big old jumbo drumsticks like nobody can. And so we've stepped up all our smoked barbecue game. We figured out other ways to do things that you would normally just rely on throwing in oil and frying. And people love it. And we've gotten more critical acclaim with our food than ever before with this direction. So we're going to keep going.
What's your go-to item on your menu?
Yeah, so I love the smoked brisket French dip sandwich. That's phenomenal. So it's literally, if you like French dip sandwiches, it's our smoked brisket that we use, and it's phenomenal. I also love our BLT 2.0. I get jalapeno bacon with my stuff because we're one of the few restaurants around that have jalapeno bacon. So it's phenomenal. Almost anything I order, I change out the regular honey bacon with jalapeno bacon. And then if you like spicy stuff, the Ghost Burger is our most famous burger on the menu or item on the menu. It's been on the Food Network and stuff like that. Nobody, not one person knows the entire recipe of our ghost chili sauce. So it's done by several different people and groups and organizations, and by the time it's finished, no one knows the whole process. So it's a secret recipe that a lot of people, we have it trademarked, a lot of, or the Ghost Burger trademarked and the Ghost Sauce trademarked. And that's our most famous one. But some people that really want to come in and destroy your colon, we're like, okay, that's why we have the Poltergeist Burger, because it's the Ghost Sauce plus grilled jalapenos plus a habanero pepper to top it off with. So, and then if you want a little Dave's Insanity sauce, we'll throw that on there too. So like, but I love, and then I came up with my own burger called the Old Man Liver Bacon Burger. And my attitude was throw as much bacon will fit on there, double patties, because it's got to be big and it's got to have some oomph. And we use our bacon onion jam that everyone loves. So that's my other go-to food.
Do you make your own sauce here? Is that right? You make whiskey and then sauce?
Yeah, so we make almost all our own sauces here. Like even our ranch dressing is made from scratch. And obviously the ghost sauce that we're famous for, but even I have my own Old Man Liver hot sauce that we make from scratch here. We don't even use any vinegar. So it takes 2 weeks to ferment with like garlic peppers and bell peppers and so forth and habanero peppers, and it's super tasty. And so anything that we do on our own from scratch. The only exception I can think of on that is when we make our Bloody Marys. I've learned from experimentation, Zing Zang mix is the best bloody mix in the world, and you can't beat it. So we've tried all our own concoctions, all this stuff, but it's the perfect combination. So we just add things to spruce it up, but it's really our Bloody Marys, we use Zing Zang, but almost everything else, we like to do our own juices from scratch, even for our mojitos and margaritas, and squeeze the lemons and not just use sugary lemon stuff you can buy at the store, but like literally squeezing the lemons from scratch and having all be fresh. And people pick up on that. If you're a real foodie, you'll go, okay, this thing was made from scratch. This sausage I just ordered for breakfast is not a perfectly round thing. It's a little spread out. Oh, the eggs, I can tell they're local organic. And literally if someone comes in and asks for local eggs, it's not local from Vegas or local from a farm in a state next door. It's literally local from down the street here in Good Springs or the next town over, Sandy Valley. We love the farm to table stuff. We love using local ingredients. We love making stuff from scratch. And I think it goes a long way with the restaurant, foodie community.
Can you buy the sauces at the store online?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that, because we do get that request a lot. The Old Man Liver hot sauce you can actually buy in the general store. You can also buy the seasoning called Old Man Liver Red Menace Premium Spice that we rub our barbecue with it. We sprinkle it on our potato salad. We mix it into our fresh 100% Angus beef burgers. It's like kind of our secret ingredient, but people love to buy it and take it home and put it on pasta or seafood, kind of like its own Lowry seasoning or Tony Chachere's. And but the ghost sauce we're working on, because we have to have that approved to sell. Everything's got to go through the proper channels, government approval. And people don't think about it. Even for the eggs, to bring in local eggs, you have to have approval from the Department of Agriculture and that kind of stuff. So even my own whiskey, the first 6 months that I had the Pioneer Saloon, even though the whiskey had already come out, I couldn't bring it into my own saloon because by law, it's got to go through a third-party distributor. And that's the case with all 50 states. So that's kind of crazy. I had to wait to get my own whiskey. I couldn't just bring it in and start selling it.
You had to buy it from a liquor supplier.
Yeah, that's right.
Crazy.
And it's crazy. So, and the reason none of the states changed that process is because the states, and these laws go back to Prohibition, and the state wants distributors that they can regulate because that's where they get their tax money from. So they'll mark it up 30%, and then the distributor will mark it up 30%. So by the time you get a drink, the drink really should only be half the price of what they are wherever you go, but it's been taxed like 4 times. So, people, have to keep that in mind. Unfortunately, it's an expensive business. And thankfully I didn't know how hard the industry was, or I might not have done it. But you got to go state by state to get approved. First approved by the state, then you got to find a distributor. Then you have to find stores and bars that want to carry. So it's a long process that is a brutal, pain in the butt. But, in the long run, it's paying out. It's paying off because I designed the whiskey with to be oaky, smoky, and a tiny bit spicy, and which is what I like. And then I'm like, if nobody else likes it, that's great. I got a lifetime of whiskey I can drink. But if somebody else likes it, that's fantastic. And luckily, now here it's our #1 selling of anything. So it didn't take away from sales of Jack Daniels or Jim Beam, but it just added to it. And we get a lot of return orders and people that buy it online, and so it's got a fan base, which is fun.
You do entertainment here. What kind of bands do you get, and how would they apply to play here?
Yeah, so a lot of people know us as a live entertainment venue. So we have usually 3 or 4 bands playing a week. Right now, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are what we focus on because that's our biggest, the weekend draws when we're busiest. But eventually I want to get it to where we have 7 days of live music all week long, since we're open all week. And then even if it's just even a slow Tuesday, if it's just a singer-songwriter or someone playing the tracks, that ambiance I don't think can be beat. I love the live music ambiance. And so, but we have full-on bands like every Saturday and Sunday afternoon, like 5 to 10 people in some of them. We have a pretty big stage in the back, and we can fit a decent amount of people now on the property. So you can sit outside, enjoy the music, and it's phenomenal. And I'd like to, being a musician myself, I want to keep that growing. So if someone wants to play, they can go to our website and see the booking contact for that. But as they say, Hollywood, this being Hollywood 2.0, and a lot of people, artists moving from California, I think our talent pool is going to get bigger and bigger, and I want to be at the forefront of the music scene growing in Las Vegas, especially the original music scene.
That's great. You said you had an hour with me, and we're about there. I want to say thank you a lot.
Thank you for having me. This has been a real fun experience.
It's really cool. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.